Today's RIAS voice is Michael Dougall. Michael is a director of practice O'Donnell Brown based in Glasgow but working throughout UK. Michael has been involved in RIS and GIA. He's a past president there and he's currently on our planning committee. So thanks very much for agreeing to do this, Michael. It's really appreciated.
No problem, Karen. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So as you know, we've got a wee raft of questions. And the first one is, why did you become an architect?
A good question to start with. I had no clear route into architecture. Got my qualifications at high school, and I suppose I applied for a variety of different careers, which those grades would allow me to do. And it was a visit to Strathclyde University that I suppose was the moment I decided, oh, actually, this looks interesting. This is for me. So it was a University Open Day. But I think having kind of time to reflect on that, there's moments I think in my childhood that maybe informed that decision. So I distinctly remember two projects at primary school. One was mapping your journey to school from your house and drawing it and drawing buildings that you passed along the way. And then also one whereby, I think it might have been P4, we all built individual paper houses and came together as a class and made a town. And of all the these are two distinct memories I have from school. So I think there's something in there that is stuck with me, I think, and then ultimately informed the decision. And yeah, and then I enjoyed my time at Strathclyde. Met some great mentors along the way, and I suppose then developed a real interest and love for the profession through that.
I think we should have more of that in classes, by the sounds of things. I like making a town. Though we've got Sims now, haven't we? Yeah. So what do you think our work being an architect matters?
I think it matters because architects and good architecture have got the ability to elevate projects. So I suppose what I mean by that is taking a brief and using the skills that we have developed to identify the opportunities that will really improve people's interactions, people's environments. So it's a view, I think, and a realization that I had through university, and the mentors I worked with there, and also carried through into practice. So a lot of the work I've done with the practices I worked for, and more recently in O'Donnell Brown, is that sort of early stage brief building on projects that involve communities, so starting to tease out how you can actually bring something to a project whereby you really will elevate it and improve the experience for the users, for the residents.
Yeah, absolutely, because now you can get a brief from AI in a second, but you can't elevate a brief at this point in time. And hopefully that is a USP that we as creative individuals bring. Yeah, absolutely. So what gives you most pleasure about the job?
I've always said it's the places I go and the people I meet, because in architecture, you never know where your next project's going to take you. And typically we find projects we're involved with can last, anything up to 3 years plus. And in that time, you really become embedded within that community and get to know the people around that project. So that's what I enjoy, is that slightly kind of unknown and also just where it will take you. Yeah, because I visited some fantastic places through part one across Scotland, and yeah, it's just what other job gives you that chance.
That's fantastic. So what have you done that makes you particularly proud?
Probably most yeah, I think most recently there was a project that we have developed since 2019, so this was pre-pandemic, and we engaged with the children's charity Bernardo's to come and work with us on a self-initiated self-build project at the studio. And through that, a conversation emerged with the charity about their aspiration to build housing for young care leavers. They'd never done this before. They never built any housing. They were looking to us to help advise them and start to develop a model around how that might look. So we worked with the charity, as I say, from 2019 and through the pandemic around what that might look like. And last year we handed over the first 5 houses in Stirling, which young care leavers moved into. And the whole ethos around that project was about giving a group of people a chance in life, really, because it was recognised from Bernardo's that they are at a stage of their life where they come out of care and the odds are against them. They're not getting a good start. Whereby if they can be given this good home or place they can call their own for a period of anything between 6 months to 2 years, where they can learn those essential life skills, that gives them the best start. So I'm immensely proud of O'Donnell Brown's input into that, because helping them through those initial stages, building that first development, which is it's a modest project, 5 houses. But what it's allowed them to do is now roll this out as a national initiative, and they've got aspirations to build 50 of these across the UK. So you just think about all the different lives, and that goes back to my first point: the people that that'll impact on and have a positive result. Yeah,
Absolutely. And being the catalyst for them to be enabled to take it forward as well, from what
yeah,
you
exactly,
said.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's that thing again about working at the earliest of stages with clients and really listening to what they're trying to do and then using the skills that we've learned and to help them with that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds great. So an easy question, or maybe some people find it quite hard actually, your favorite place or your favorite town or building?
That's a tricky one. I say that's the taxi driver question. Whenever I get in a taxi and admit I'm an architect, they say, "Oh, what's your favorite building?" And it's never one I've been able to answer succinctly. Visited loads of great places. I think, God, thinking more recently again. So, I guess Milan as a city, I've been fortunate enough to visit quite a few times over the last few years through a family connection. So it's a city that I've really got to know through the lens of effectively a local. My brother was living there for a while, and a city I've really grown to enjoy and like. Um, but also I find that I'm I think I've lived and worked in Glasgow now longer than I grew up in Ayrshire. And I'm finding in my career now I'm kind of getting drawn back quite a lot through project work. So doing projects in Girvan just now. I've just completed a project in Kilmarnock, and we're trying to. There's two thinking about a building. There's actually two buildings there in Prestwick, on the shorefront in Prestwick, and they're the only lasting example, the Grade A listed example of salt pan houses anywhere in Scotland. And these are a kind of a fixture of my childhood again. So I always knew them, recognised them, wasn't quite sure what they were for. But in the last year, I've started a conversation with the owners around, how can we work with you to help save these buildings? And they're privately owned, so the Centre Golf Club, and they've been really receptive to that. So fortunately, we got into the building last year, and again, it's just become a little bit of a passion project. It's a building that's back in hometown, and something that has got national value and significance actually. So
Tell me, what is a salt pan
it's
building?
Saltpan, yeah. So it's where they used to, salt industry was huge on the west and east coast of Scotland. So there's a few remaining examples of, I think, remnants of buildings on the east coast, but these two in Prestwick are completely intact. So the ground floor is where they bring in the seawater, boil it, extract the salt, and then above is where the workers lived. So
Right.
really unique buildings,
Yeah.
but really in a kind of sorry state at the moment. So yeah, again, applying a skill set to try and help save these and build a brief and make a project.
And everyone tells us that sea salt's so much better for us than rock salt. So there you go.
Well, exactly, and it seems to be a growing industry again. So there's various companies
Potential
have started.
community.
Yeah, yeah.
So in a more serious sort of line, what do you think the biggest challenge for the architecture profession is?
Yeah, quite a serious question.
Mhm.
Challenges, there's a number of challenges, and I think I'm always aware that our RIAS membership spans from sole practitioners through to bigger, more corporate commercial practices. So I suppose I can speak about the challenges that we're facing at the moment. Funding is tricky, enabling projects actually. So I've been I'll be 15 plus years in industry now, and it's changed significantly from where it was 15 years ago, about how projects, the the beginnings of a project seemed much simpler back then in terms of available funding. Now it's difficult, So we're seeing communities sort of all target in the same pot and maybe not having a successful outcome. That's a challenge because ultimately that's projects, that's cash flow, that's money for us. Also, the discussion and debate on fees, which I was encouraged to see RIAS take a stance on, particularly in procurement, because the cost of running a business has increased significantly over the last period. Thinking about insurance premiums, software costs, staff remuneration. Of course, we want to pay architects what they're due, but none of that's been reflected back into fees. So how do you make that balance? I think they're the challenges. I believe there's opportunities, though, I suppose maybe to put a positive on it. We talk about housing emergencies, climate emergencies. I think to address these emergencies require specific skill sets, and I think architects are best placed to do that. It does require an element of upskilling, so thinking that there's opportunities for architects through retrofit and all the various roles that come with that. So whilst there's challenges, I think it's about working with bodies like the RIS to have a collective voice and try and overcome these. But I think it's also about, on an individual basis, practice basis, recognising where those opportunities are and actually how architects can position themselves within the industry to offer more than maybe what we have done of late.
Yeah, I do feel that RIS is really keen to up the strength of its voice, but we also want to work with the profession to value ourselves more. I think we've been so beaten about by procurement systems, and that we need to move into that space of being the enablers, the creatives, and I think retrofit gives us an opportunity to reframe the conversation a bit. So
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What advice would you give your younger self if you were starting out again?
I wonder if I'd have listened to any advice that I would give myself, I suppose. Maybe thinking about advice that others gave me at that time. One was be patient. I remember coming into architecture and qualifying as a part two and becoming really frustrated that things didn't happen quickly. I was put on a job that really was thinking now it's probably it was a 5-year plus regeneration project, and I was thinking, I wanted to see, because at university you're working through design projects quite quickly, and yeah, just be patient and learn through the process. Would be the main one, I think. And yeah, I mean, I always say mentorship is a valuable thing, and I work with some good mentors through part one and part two, and I like to think that a lot of what they said to me has resulted in kind of where I've got to so far in my career. So whilst I might not have listened to any advice that I offered myself, I like to think that I did listen to the advice I was given.
And
Yeah.
now that we're doing RIS mentoring with some of the schools, we need to get you as a mentor to be, if
Yeah,
you're not
well,
already.
I'll give a shout out to Melanie Hay, who's the current Architects Benevolent Society ambassador, and she runs she's done it for 2 years now, a brilliant mentor program in Glasgow. Where I've enjoyed being part of that. So just listening to some of the young architects coming through and the challenges that they're facing, and just looking for advice where to go next in their career.
Yeah.
So yeah, a valuable thing.
And do you think, I'm just maybe going to roll these together, having an organisation like RIS is worthwhile, and hoping that you do, what should we be doing more of?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely worthwhile. I suppose I've had the benefit of seeing what the RIS do through my involvement on council, most recently planning committee. So I've seen a lot of that behind the scenes work, which is hugely valuable, and that's obviously working with other industry bodies, working with government on issues of planning, procurement, and matters that directly affect us all. So I've seen that. Whether that filters down to the membership, I don't know, because I think I'm always still faced with the question, but what does the RIS do for me? I think everybody who's involved in RIS can give a lengthy response to that. If the RIS didn't exist, I think we would lose that presence. We would lose that voice in the industry. So I think we would all quickly realise what not having an RIS would look like, even if it's not evident to you just now, the benefit of having an RIS. So yeah, I think it's absolutely relevant and worthwhile. What could we do more of? We were fortunate, O'Donnell Brown were fortunate enough to win the the RIAS competition for the Crichton Centre down Dumfries a couple of years ago. I thought how that was run was excellent in terms of limited EOI, expression of interest input, through to shortlisting and then remuneration as a finalist. So it was a really limited time take to put yourself in for it, because so much of our time is spent now on filling out PQQs and tender documents to know success. So the limited time on that, and then the remuneration that was awarded through the competition, allowed us to do that. Then obviously winning it was great. So I think more of that. I think because without that, a practice of our well, the size we were at the time of entering and previous experience, we wouldn't have had a look in if it come out more a more traditional method. So we welcomed that opportunity. Continuing to tackle this procurement issue, it's long talked about. So I think the letter that Tamsin issued recently, as I said, has been welcomed by everybody I've spoke to. So it'd be good to learn what the next steps there are and how that's improved. And I think there's a role for RIAS to continue celebrating the work of Scottish architects, nationally and internationally. I've always wondered, and I know it's a discussion I've had with Tamsin and with other practices more recently about, why can't practices in Scotland have that international profile that allows us to work overseas and be recognised as a Scottish practice, but with that international reputation. So it's something to sort of shoot for. But I think RIAS certainly can help us all along that way.
I think that's really good advice, and we're actually already working with Scottish governments. So we recently learned there was a pot of money to take architects abroad, and we took 5 practices to Copenhagen. So
Brilliant.
it's an early start. We got big practices, small practices, Highland practices, Lowland practices. But basically, that was because we knew the money was there for the taking. So we're putting in another bid on that line. And also in the competitions front, we're picking that up too, because we know that that's something valuable to show best practice on as well. So lots to do.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment. But I think I do feel that we've spent quite a long time changing our governance, and we're about to change the way we do delivery of actions and communicate them to members. So it's ongoing. So I'm glad that you'll hopefully stay involved with us.
Yeah.
We're always keen on volunteers, and we know how precious time is. So we're trying to make sure we have active ways of working that are flexible for people who have not maybe got involved in the past.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
No,
and
enjoyed the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Karen.